This
Okay,
is start.
there.
Yeah.
We're recording. Hooray!
Hooray.
So, welcome everyone back to another edition of whatever I'm calling this series. I think it's like author community chats or something like that. But thank you so much for joining me and my dear friend Cassie as we hang out and catch up and just, talk about stuff. So,
Yeah.
hi Cassie, how you been?
Hello. I am good. I just came back from a week at Disney World, so I am refreshed and doing great.
That's awesome. How was it?
Good. My glasses just like freaked out for a second. It was really good. It was really hot. So
Mm.
it is February. I live in Maine. On the way to the airport, it was -9 degrees. In Florida, it was 85, and so that was a
Oh, that
big
sounds
swing.
lovely. That
Yes.
sounds lovely. So, did you go to all the Disney parks or just one or?
Not all of them. We went to Magic Kingdom, of course,
Mhm,
which is like
mhm.
like the best, I feel like, for little kids. So my son is
Yeah,
6. It was his first time, so we did Magic Kingdom. We did Hollywood Studios, which
I love
is my
Hollywood Studios.
family's favorite, mostly
Yeah,
because of Tower of Terror. Like, really,
yeah,
that we're all just going there for Tower of Terror. And
yeah.
then we did a break for a day where we just like hung out at the pool at the hotel. And then we
Smart.
did Universal twice. So we did Universal
Oh, I love
Studios
Universal.
and Island of Adventure. Me too. It's funny because like I was a big Disney kid, like big
Yeah.
Disney kid. I mean, I literally have my Winnie the Pooh cup with me right now. But I am like, man, I kind of like Universal better as I'm like getting,
Yeah,
as I'm like an adult now, especially because it's Harry Potter, which
yeah,
it's just like, it's Harry Potter. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you. Um, so I think yes, and my like experience has always been that like Disney is amazing for magic and the atmosphere, like, and nobody does that better than Disney.
oh yeah.
Universal comes close, but the immersion, that's like if that's what you want, if you want to go to like feel like you're literally transported into a magical kingdom, you go to Disney. If you want to go to rides, super cool rides, you go to Universal.
Yes. Universal, like, the rides are just so
Yeah,
much better. I
yeah.
will say,
They're
like,
like
I
bigger kid rides too, right?
yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Like, the
So
rides at, like, Magic Kingdom are just, like, eh, they're
they're the
fun.
classic Disney rides. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they're great for kids. Like, my son could
Hmm.
do every single ride at Magic Kingdom.
Hmm.
So many rides at Universal he wasn't tall enough for,
Yeah,
but, like, Universal, like, those rides are an experience. Although I will say they have a
yeah,
lot of simulators, and I was kinda
yeah,
getting over that a little bit towards I was like,
yeah,
"Okay, enough simulators." Although, like, the Harry Potter through the castle, that simulator is just incredible. But I read this, like, interesting article too about how Disney takes in line of sight so much. So,
hmm,
like, when you're in Epcot, you can technically see the Tower of Terror. And so
hmm,
the back of the Tower of Terror is designed to look like a building in Morocco because you see
hmm,
it in Morocco in Epcot. So there's just
hmm.
like they do all these things with like cutting the trees and like Universal's just kind of like, yeah, you see what you see. Like,
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think my favorite, like, so I love Disney too. We went several times before, like right before my family went to Japan. My youngest was right in that,
Mm,
like in that zone, right? Like the frozen little girl zone,
yeah.
and so we went several times in close proximity. And I think my favorite, uh, you know, I love Magic Kingdom because it's the Magic Kingdom. It's the classic Disney, right? But
Yeah.
I love Animal Kingdom, Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Mm,
My I would be hard pressed to say whether I like Animal Kingdom or Hollywood Studios better, just because they're both so much fun and so immersive and so different, you know.
yeah.
So, but yeah, the one of my favorite experiences, the at Animal Kingdom is like it's like the safari experience. And I think we had to book it separately or whatever, but like you get on these little Jeeps and you drive around on
Ooh.
and there's like a giraffe right there. Like, and oh, there's lions sunning on the rock, you know, and you're like, these are real.
Right?
So that, you know, doing that was always what was like a core memory experience. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to Animal Kingdom in a long time, and we had talked about it, but we took my son to the zoo last
Uh-huh.
year, and he was just like,
Eh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think, like, so my son is autistic, and so, like, I don't think he understood the rarity of the
Yeah.
animals because it would be like, "Oh my like, look, an elephant," and he's like, "Elephant? Yeah." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Do you realize, though, that, like, you
Yeah.
can't
It just
just, like,
didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's just like, "Yeah, panda bear, like,
Okay.
cool."
Whatever.
Right, like, and so it's like, "Okay."
Yeah. 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 I mean, it may not be his thing, you know, it may not
Yeah.
be his thing. So, well, that's so cool. I'm glad you guys did that. I also just got back from not really a trip, but this past weekend was from the time we're recording this was Bosco in Boston, which is a, as you know, long running science fiction fantasy convention. And I'm telling you, I'm going to get you there next year, Cassie, because I
Yes.
think you would have had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. It was a bigger crowd than last year, but still not too big.
Mhm.
My girlfriends who went, so my Marisa Wolf and Melissa Olthoff and I, we all went together and stayed with Trisha Wooldridge, who's another friend of ours, and a fourth or a fifth friend who is not a writer, so I won't say her name publicly because I don't have permission. But we, you know, like we all stayed, you know, in a room together, which was, if you're counting, 5 women in one room, which was a lot.
That's a
But
lot.
it was like college again, man. But it was fun, right? And everyone was super nice and, you know, very courteous and stuff like that. It was just, it was like occasionally it was like, oh man, like there's 5 of us and only one
Right.
restroom, you know.
You're just like, "I don't have any space."
Yeah, I had to keep all my stuff very contained.
R
Like I never
mhm.
unpacked my suitcase. I just kept pulling it out from under the table and getting into it and then putting it back, you know, because there was just no room, right?
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, like even all of that notwithstanding, it was a really good time. The programming was super good. The hotel is beautiful.
Mhm.
So it normally goes, when we were talking about it earlier, you had asked when does it go from, and
Yeah.
it was from Friday to Sunday, and then programming cuts off or ends, I should say, kind of mid afternoon on Sunday. And we had planned to check out on Sunday and then, you know, kind of put all our stuff in the car and then finish out our programming and then drive back.
Yep.
Except that there was an ice storm on Sunday, and
There
so the hotel was
was.
really great because we were just like, hey, so we don't really want to go anywhere. Can we just stay? And they were like, yes, you can. So they were awesome about, you know, like extending our reservation stuff. So we got like a bonus night at Bosco and just hanging
Oh,
out,
that's great.
waiting for the weather. Waiting for the weather to pass so we could drive home safely. And I'm glad we did, because while we were there that night at dinner, uh, one of my friends, Marisa, she has like the local, for her town, local Facebook group or whatever, and I guess someone
Yep.
posted like, "Do not go outside. Stay
Mhm.
off the roads. There's multiple car pileups. Like, no, just stay in." So
It has been a winter lately, like,
it has, yeah.
in a good way, I feel like, but yeah. What hotel is it at?
So it's at the Westin Boston Seaport District,
Okay.
which is beautiful hotel in the Seaport District of Boston. It was like probably, I think it took us like 10 minutes to get from there to Logan to pick up my friend. So
Oh, that's not bad at all.
yeah, super close. Um, so yeah, it's highly recommended. It was a really well run convention. Lots of, you know, lots of really interesting panels, like cool
Mhm.
discussions about stuff, and a pretty big. So um, there were more people there this year than last year. So I
Yep.
think it's still sort of like recovering from, the pandemic of people
Mm.
not wanting to go, to spend time with a lot of other people at once. But this year was a little bit more lively, which was great. They had some of the most beautiful art I've ever seen in the art show. And a lot of horror representation, a lot of horror
Ooh.
writers and stuff, because, it's New England, it's big up here. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. Which is why I'm like, you need to go, girl. You would love it. You would love
Especially in
it.
Mass, like
Yeah.
get around Salem and to go
Oh
all
yeah.
year. I love it.
Yeah. All that Lovecraftian shit that's all over
Oh
here.
yeah.
So
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So
That's
that,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll try to remember, but you'll have to
I'll keep you
remind me
posted.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because is
for
it
sure.
always early February?
Yeah, I think it's traditionally President's Day weekend, which is what
Oh,
it was this
okay.
year. Yeah. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. But yeah, I think you'd have a really good time, and it could be a really good networking con for you. So um,
And
because I know
Boston's
that you
so
do write
close.
like dark fantasy and horror.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I have been. So I started, like almost never watch TV.
Uh-huh.
My son watches TV, when he's awake sometimes, and then he goes to bed and I write. So I don't watch a lot of TV, but I've been feeling lately like just kind of like stuck and having a hard
Uh-huh.
time with like, and I told myself I was going to read more. And I don't know if this ever happens to you, but I started reading this book and I was like, wow, this book is really good. Like it just had
Hmm.
me really hooked into it. And I was like, okay, I can't read it right now because I won't be able to stop. And like I had to work the next day. So I was like, I'm going to put the book down. I'll read it later. And now it's been like a month and a half and I
You
haven't
haven't
picked it
picked it back
up.
up.
No.
Yeah.
And now, like in my head, I'm like, no, that book was amazing. And now I'm afraid it's not going to be as good as like I remembered it. So I've just been like stuck. So I started watching TV again. I was like, I'm just gonna watch an old show that like
Hmm.
gets me, I know, like feeling creative. And so I started watching 1899. Have you ever seen
Hmm.
that? On
Is
Netflix.
that the one with the train?
It's a boat. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like it's like they're on this ship, like a ocean liner, kind of like think like
Uh-huh.
Titanic. And there is another ship from the same company that went missing months before. And they start receiving a telegraph from this ship. And so they like go looking for it. And it's just got a really like dark and eerie feeling.
Ooh, that sounds
All of
fun.
the passengers like clearly have different things that they're hiding.
Yeah.
And, they like within the first episode, they like find the ship. It's completely abandoned, except for
Yeah.
there's one little boy on the ship. And of course, like little kids are so creepy. Like
Yeah.
they just So I started watching that again and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so much better." Like I'm having like so many ideas and stuff. And so now I have like this like series in mind that it has like a darker edge to it, but I need to finish. I need to finish current projects.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know how that goes. So you said something that I want to like kind of I want to kind of dig into a little bit, because this is something that's sort of like a passion topic for me, and that's this idea of like creative rest, right? So
Mhm.
because I get like that, where I'm like, I feel stuck. I'm not like what are words, what are ideas, like I don't
Right.
know, I
I don't
can't
have
think of
them.
anything. Yeah, right. And it's interesting. Sorry, my camera's like off center and it's driving me crazy here. Hang on. And it's no, that made it worse. Okay, maybe I'll just move over. It's interesting to me because the what works for me to like get me out of that changes, right,
Mm,
from project to project, from mood to mood and stuff. A lot of times, like you said, like going back to like a comfort property, something that I know I liked, that's gonna like kind of uh, immerse me and make me feel like I'm, just really kind of suck me into the story, is awesome, because it allows my brain, the part of my brain that's responsible for like, you know, coming up with the dialogue and just
mm,
picking all the words and actually like doing the nitty gritty writing work, kind of allows that part to sort of rest. but it still sort of massages the creative spark part of my brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I've talked before about how for me, a lot of times video games is the thing that works where
Mm.
like, especially if it's something that I've played before, like an old, like, Skyrim is a go-to. Cyberpunk 2077 is one of my favorites.
Mhm.
Hogwarts Legacy, I will play, just because like I've played all of those games all the way through before. But there's something about going through a new playthrough that sort of is, it's like doing yoga. When you're like, if you're like a power lifter, you can't lift heavy every day. Like every once in a while, and not even every once in a while, it's like a regular thing. Like you've got to stop and like have an active rest day where you like do some light cardio and then do some yoga and then, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I'm glad you found something that's like sparking that for you.
Yeah,
That's really
it's
cool.
one, it's, like, so funny you say that 'cause my best friend is a power lifter who does
Oh yeah.
yoga. So, it's just like
So she can vouch, right?
yeah,
Like,
I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. But, yeah, no, to be honest, like, I was kinda hoping Disney would do it for me. Like,
yeah.
I was like, I hope that going there and, like, seeing the worlds and everything would help, but I think I am, like, the planner of my family. So, it
Mm,
was my, like, immediate family, and then also my parents, my sister, and her husband all went together. And it was, like, me that everyone was like, "What's next? What's next? What are we doing? Where are we eating?"
mm,
And so I feel like I was
yeah.
so
You were on. You were
busy.
working.
Yes, like, yes, with, like, having to be like, "Oh, we have a reservation here. We need to go over there. We need to do
Yeah.
this," that I didn't get the, like, creative kick that I was hoping to
Hmm.
get from it, and so that was, like, a little bit of a bummer. There was one time when I went on a ride by myself, like, I just did single rider and did the Mummy ride, and
I love that ride. It's
I
such a
was, like,
great ride.
feeling it. Yeah, like, I was, like, waiting in line in the dark by myself, like, going on the ride, but it was, like, kinda quickly lost once I got back to, like, responsibility mode.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Man, I am definitely someone who needs, like, the momentum of habits, and if I am
Hmm.
doing good of, like, writing every night and staying on top of it, I can, like, keep going, but if I break the habit, it breaks hard." And so,
Yeah.
like, the days leading up to the trip, I was very absorbed with the trip, and so I, like, got out of the habit of writing,
Hmm.
not reading, and then being gone, we came back, and within, like, 3 days, I got really sick. Like, I just
Mm.
had a fever, and I just felt horrible for, like, several days, and so, now today's the 19th, I'm at, like, 20 days where I haven't written anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh god." And then you start to be like, "Am I ever gonna write again?" Which is
Right.
so
Right.
dramatic,
Yeah.
but, like,
Yeah.
exactly how you feel.
Mhm, mhm, and the like, "Oh, why can't I do this? Like, how can I
Yes.
have let it go so far?" Yeah, yeah. Girl, oh,
Yeah.
you're speaking to my soul right now.
I'm just like,
So,
"Oh god."
yeah. Well, so, this is one of the things that my friends and I talk about. Actually, we did a whole video on it, called I forget exactly how we phrased it, but we were talking about how sometimes in your career, and this is not exactly the same, but it's sort of related, right? Like sometimes in your career, you're like, oh God, I got a deadline, or oh,
Mhm.
I'm finishing my first novel, I'm gonna finish it, and I'm gonna publish it, or whatever, and you go, I mean, excuse the expression, but you go balls to the wall on it,
Yeah.
right? Like you are locked in, and it consumes you, and it's like all your energy, and we call it surge mode, or I call it surge mode, right?
Yep.
Because it's like, okay, the mission requires a surge of energy and maximum effort, and all of that kind of stuff, and it's great, and you do that, and then you finish the thing, and it's a huge celebration, and then you're like, what do I do with my hands now? Well, the
Right.
answer is hard, but it is, you have to rest after surge mode. And then every time that, like, the corollary to that is like, okay, well, now I'm resting and I'm not doing anything. Well, fuck, am I ever going to be able to do it again?
Mm.
So which is like what you were talking about, right? And so one of the things that Sometimes I'm still sort of refining this for myself, but I kind of got this idea from two places. One was from Sarah Cannon on Heart Breathings. Because she talks about like her reset days where she'll just like
Yep.
take a day, clean her office, like get everything, handle all of her admin stuff and kind of like clear the plate so that there's room and time for the creativity to start happening. And then the other one was Stephen Pressfield, he's the guy who wrote The Legend of Beggar Vance and
Ooh.
The Art of War. I don't know if you've ever read that book. It's a beautiful book, by the way. If you haven't read it, I might send you a copy because it's gorgeous. No, not The Art of War. The War of Art. The Art of War is by Sun Tzu.
It's
The
so funny
War
because
of
I was like, this is the same name as Sun Tzu's book. I was like, that's
Yeah,
weird that he
no,
did
the
that.
War of Art. So Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War, and it's poetry, right? Because he's ancient Chinese
Right.
writer or whatever. Um, well, Stephen Pressfield modeled the War of Art after the Art of War, so it's also written in verse, and it's
Ooh.
structured very similar to the Art of War. So highly recommend that you check it out. But one of the things that he talks about in that book is that every time he sits down to write, he has like a ritual that he does where
Mm.
he reads this one particular piece. He like I think he has like a picture that he has to have on his desk or something like that. He like sharpens his pencil, or I don't know,
Yep.
he does the same actions to kind of like trigger his brain to say, okay, now it's time to sit down and write.
Yep.
And I've been experimenting with sort of setting up something like that myself too, where it's like, okay, when it's time to sit down and write, these are the things that I do first. I open up my planner, I write down my little sprint tracker, that I do in my HB90 planner. I put on my headphones and I listen to music, and then I open up my Scrivener and I read through what I've already, what I wrote last time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like doing those two things in combination, kind of like, well, this is how I think it works for me, right? And obviously, this is just me. Everyone else's mileage varies, but I think what works for me is after I exhaust myself because of either surge mode or just life events, or maybe I got sick or whatever.
Yep.
I have like, you got to give in to the fact that you're going to rest. You're going to, right? Like, okay, all right. So accept that, embrace it. And then once I start feeling kind of antsy about it, then it's about
Mm-hmm.
time to start to do the reset. So then do the reset, clear the space out, like clean your desk off, which I have not done recently. and, and then, uh, and then start like sit down and do the ritual and do some writing. And I've also noticed that like I can't, like when I'm in surge mode, I'm writing like 5 to 7,000 words a day sometimes, which is awesome. But again,
Amazing. Yep.
that's surge mode, right? Like I can't
Yeah.
sustain that day to day to day to day. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday that'll be my steady pace.
Yeah.
But right now, my steady pace is much closer to like 2,500, like 1,500 to 2,500 a day, right? And after a rest, like it's even lower. So it's like I got to build
Mm.
back up to those
Yep.
numbers. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. It's funny because like I think the ritual is like such a big thing. Like when I think about like office world, right?
yeah.
Usually like you come into the office, you put your bag down, you probably get a coffee. Like you don't even think about all these things of like just going to this place and doing these
Hmm.
little things are a routine that like puts you in the mind. But when you're writing from home, it's so
Hmm.
easy to be like, I'm just gonna slide over to this desk and expect myself to like go into it when 5 minutes
Hmm.
ago I was folding laundry or brushing my teeth or doing something completely random every day.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, I feel like I did like in the past, I think I've done like, oh, I'm gonna light this candle. I'm gonna listen to the same music every single time. Cause I'm definitely one of those people too. Like, I have like a playlist for like working out, and I will listen to the
Hmm.
same playlist. Like, I'm going on like 3 years. Actually, I think the playlist is called 2021. Like, that's how long I've been like
Nice.
rocking this same playlist. I
Yeah.
start it over every single time. So
Yeah.
I've heard, which is like crazy because I've heard the first, 8 songs 9,000 times and the last like
Yeah.
4 songs, I don't know, 3 times. Like I never get that far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
definitely
used to have the same running playlist that like I had it
yeah.
paced out for like I knew that if I ran through this many songs, it was this amount of distance or this amount of time, you know.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I need to do that again. I need to find a good like playlist and kind of get myself into it. And I definitely feel like last year I went through like a surge mode phase. Like
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit of a no-no, but I'm going to share what I did. I so when we left Boston last year,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm going to write this like Aztec story that I had
Mm-hmm.
because people had like good said nice things about it. And then
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'll wait. Like I'm going to wait, but this will be my next idea. And then Berkeley Publishing opened up submission for anyone. And I was like,
Yeah.
I got to submit that. I got to submit this. And so I like it was like you needed the first 10 pages and like a pitch and the book was supposed to be done. Well, I hadn't written anything. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
I'll just do it and then I'll write the book. So like I did the submission and then went into surge mode of like, I got to write the book because what if they're interested and I don't have a book? So I went
Yeah.
like hard into surge mode of like, I need to
Mm-hmm.
write this. And I booked an editor. So then it was like, not only do I need to write it, but I needed to like, I wrote the whole thing from just an idea between May and August. And then within that same time frame edited to get a second like a third draft up to a third
Uh-huh.
draft to get to my editor. And so by the time she like got it back to me and I started like reviewing her edits and editing it in October, it's like I had been going nonstop, like hard into the
Yeah.
story since like May. And I think that I December I did very little. But I
Yeah.
think January I tried to come back a little too fast too soon
Mm-hmm.
to be like, "Oh no, I need to get back into it. The holidays are over." But like my mind was like, "No, thank you. We're not quite ready to get
Yeah.
back to that." But like you said, I'm feeling the itch now of like, no, now I want to get back into things. Like now
Yeah.
I'm feeling more ready. It's just establishing the routine again to be like, okay,
Yeah.
my son's in bed and that has been a struggle too. He has not been sleeping well. We've
Oh,
had
that's
like
hard.
some regression. Yeah, for the last couple years, it's been like 15 minutes to get him to bed. Like, hey, good night, like kiss,
Mm-hmm.
bye. And then I have the rest of the night to myself to write. And now it's like taking, his bedtime is 7:30. It'll be like 9 o'clock when he's like finally asleep and I'm
Mm.
out of his room. And so now I'm like, oh my God, it's already 9 o'clock and I'm
And that
tired from
battle is
this.
exhausting. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, but this is the time that I have because I
Yep.
have a full-time job. And so it's like, but I need to get the routine down. I don't know.
Yeah. 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 I all of that, man. All of that's a struggle. Well, congrats on finishing the Aztec story. I hadn't asked because I was like, oh, she didn't mention it. I wonder if that means that she put it aside, and I didn't want to like.
It it definitely needs some edits still. So I will say
Yeah.
that I wrote it as a like adult fantasy
Hmm.
and working with the editor and also like the worst part is like halfway through, maybe like 3/4 of the way through, I was like, "Ooh, this should be YA." And like my
Mm.
editor was like, "Have you thought about YA?" And I'm like, "Actually, yes." So I need to edit it. I have like the first act in a little bit. I would say act 1 and act 2A I have
Uh-huh.
done to reshape as YA,
Yeah.
but I need to finish going through. And the ending is weak right now.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ending is weak, and I'm struggling to think of a good ending.
Huh.
So that has been
That yeah, that's a challenge. I feel like that with my beginnings. Like I was thinking about this the other day, and I
mm,
feel like I rewrite the beginning of just about every novel I write because I
yeah.
come back, like I write it and I get the rest of the story done, and then when I go back in my edit pass, I'm like, it doesn't it doesn't feel as strong as I would like it to. You know what I mean? And so then I end
Mhm.
up having to having to rewrite it. The only one that I haven't felt like that about lately has been my lit RPG Shadow Card Guardian. Um, that is currently up in serial format, but I will be releasing it this spring on in novel format. Yeah, so that ending or that beginning, the whole story really started. I mean, it's going to sound ridiculous. Of course, the story started at the beginning, but the idea for the story started with the like opening scene, kind of fully
Yes.
fledged in
Yep.
my head. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. But the story started with the beginning.
And it all began.
Great. Did it follow with a middle, and an ending too?
Like that episode of The Office where Robert California is like, "Tell me about your day," and Aaron's like, "Suddenly, I was awake." Like,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah, right.
suddenly, the story began. It's like, and so it
Yeah.
did.
And so it did. And so it did.
So it did.
So what would you like to start working on then?
So I've been thinking a lot in preparation. So we are, I don't know, 30 days out from HardyCon, right?
I know, I'm so excited.
I know. And so I've been thinking a lot about strategy and like, what is my plan here?
Mm-hmm.
And I I don't want to start with a series, which I know is kind of like not the best decision, but
Well, it depends, right? Like one of the things Sarah says all the time is you can do whatever you want,
right.
you know? It's just it may take longer for you to reach certain milestones,
Yes.
you
So
know.
I am like accepting that, but I want the stories to have like a common like thread. And so I've been
Mm-hmm.
thinking a lot about like, okay, what do most of my ideas have in common, right? So like I feel like I have a lot of like half started things and like different ideas, but they all have like a similar aspect of like there is this like sense of like this isn't our world. Things are always
Mm-hmm.
have like a dark and an eerie feel. So I feel like there are some like common themes among the stories. So I've been trying to think about that. And then the Aztec story for me is such a hard one because there's a huge emotional aspect
Mm-hmm.
to that. And so I've been kind of debating of like, I don't know if I'm ready for the emotional side of that story and like
Mm-hmm.
how it relates to my own story. And so that's
Yeah.
been a struggle. But I have another thing that's in progress that is like I'm like, okay, this is the one that I can see in my head as like this is the first self-published book.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like to me like that is it. And it's just, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have a good like project title for it. I've been calling it the book, which is but like it's like that one, the book to me is I'm like this is the one that I
Yeah.
can see as being the first one. And so I but it needs I've been working with my critique partner on it. So that's good, but we haven't gotten all the way through it.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's interesting that you say that you see that book, you know, that like when you think about it, it feels like it's the self-publishing project for you. Cause that's how I feel when I think about this lit RPG project, right? Like I, I, you and I met at the Subscriptions for Authors Summit, and I knew like back last March, last like January, even January of 24, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a subscription because I like this model of, you know, directly interacting with my audience. I like this way of building a community of super fans. I'm just not sure exactly the mechanics and exactly what I want
Mm,
to do with it yet. And I still wasn't in March when we met at the summit. And then, you know, I thought that I had an idea for what I thought I might do. Um, and the more I talked to people and stuff, the more I was like, I don't know that I still want to write this story idea. It was like a dark academia, like
mm,
fantasy. Yeah, fantasy. But I was like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't know how I would make this really work.
Into cereal. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I kind of found the lit RPG community, and specifically John Stovall. So John and Shammy Stovall are friends of mine. Shammy is a fantasy author. She's self-published. She's incredibly successful. Her book was a Dragon Award finalist for fantasy last year. Um,
Ooh, what's the name
and
of
that
it?
was
Do you
her.
know?
That one was, I'm not sure exactly which
That's all
one
right.
it was. It was one of her Arcanist series ones, but you would probably really like her series. The first one I think is called Nightmare Arcanist,
Okay.
but it's, if you look up Shami, Shami Stovall, Stovall, it's she describes it as like, what did she say it was? It was like something meets Pokemon, but yeah,
Okay, interesting.
yeah,
I'm
like Harry Potter
obsessed.
meets Pokemon, I think is what she said. So
I'm so obsessed lately with X meets Y. Like, I
yeah,
don't know why, but, like, my brain has been like,
yeah,
when I think of an X meets Y, lately, it's been, like, the golden child to me. I'm just like, "Oh
yeah.
my god, look at it. It's amazing."
Well,
And it's like, it's 2 words.
she's super talented. She's such a great storyteller. Anyway, so she and I became friends, a couple years ago, and then I started talking to her about doing serials, and she's like, "Well, my husband does lit RPG serials. You should check out Royal Road." And so I read her husband John's story, and I was like, "This is fucking amazing." And so I started talking to him, and he allowed me to create a story in his, like, using his magic system in his world, basically.
I
So that's
started
what.
reading yours.
Oh, did you? What do you
Mhm.
think? Do you like
With
it?
the cards, I do like it. I
Oh,
do.
thanks. Yeah.
I
Isn't
it's
the
funny.
system cool? That's John's.
Yes.
Like the whole cards and the powers and how that all works. I
Yeah.
love it. It's
What I love too, that I love this idea that, like, you guys are, like, existing in this, like, same world.
yeah,
I just find that part really cool. It's, like, your own, which is, like, such a real life thing, right? Like, we're all here, but, like, everyone is their own self in a weird, you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, you
Everyone
pass these
has
people on the
their.
street,
Mhm.
they're like, they don't know you exist, and, like, so it's just really cool that it's, like, you've created this own, like, story and world that,
Yeah,
like, yes, it lives in, like, what he has created, but, like, it also, like, almost exists on its own, and
yeah.
yeah, it's
He's
super, I think it's
he's
super cool.
he's such a cool guy, man. And I don't think I would have thought of doing it if I hadn't already been writing in like some shared world environments and like on
Mm.
like the military science fiction side, because that's a thing that's that's kind of big over there, is doing this. Sorry, my hair is doing some fun interactions with my
Oh,
headphones. Um,
fly away crazy over here, so you're good.
but um, but yeah, he's John, and John's just, he's such a great guy to work with, right? Just like a bro, like in fact, I was talking to him right before our call, and we were going over like some stuff for Amazon launch, because he's getting ready to release the third book in his card series,
Mm.
and then my book is going to come right after that. So we were coordinating dates and stuff, because I'd like to have my pre-order page up so that he can link it in his book, and
Oh,
yada
awesome.
yada yada. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I mean, the idea is, right, like, we he funnels a lot more people to me than I funnel to him, but there have been some,
Yeah,
so
it's
yeah,
still, yeah.
yeah. So I forgot why I started talking about this, but I am excited. So that's like a lot of what my energy has been going towards right now, is
Yep.
writing this. So the first book is done in the Shadow Card series. I'm writing the second book right now. I'm posting chapters of book 2 to my subscription already, but it's not up on Royal Road yet, because we're
Yeah.
still working through the chapters of book 1. But
How
my
often do you, like, release to your subscribers?
so so I have 2 tiers that, well, really 3. My ultimate tier just gets everything, all the things. But my Guardian Deck Bearer tier is my $10 a month tier, and up they get early access to my chapters basically as soon as they're written. I only hang on to them long enough to do a quick editing pass,
Hmm.
and then I put them up. So those are that's the tier that has access to book 2 right now. And then my $5 a month tier, they get early access. They get it a week before Royal Road does. And then I
Okay.
post on Royal Road Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So
Oh
um,
my gosh.
yeah. So well, that's why I had to write book 1 first.
Yeah.
So that I had a backlog, which I am burning through. Let me tell you, because I have not been producing chapters as quickly as I've been putting them up. I've written this week. I wrote 1 chapter already. I got to write 2 more in order to kind of like stay,
Yeah.
you know, stay
On
on par.
target. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
How okay, so this is so interesting. And like so when we went to the subscription summit, I actually walked away being like, okay, subscriptions are not for me. Like
Hmm.
it's a solid thing for me to be like, no. And
Hmm.
one of the which I'm just like so glad. Like I'm so glad that I went because it was
Hmm.
I came away with like a definitive. But
Hmm.
one of like the big reasons for me that I was like, this isn't for me is like I'll write something and it just changes so much. And so like one thing that I find so interesting is like you're writing the chapters and like sharing them. How do you know
What if
that's
they
the idea
change?
you want? Like
Yeah.
like how do you feel so good about your idea? I never feel good.
So, so, uh, I mean, part of it is just, sort of with experience and
Mhm.
understanding that, like, okay, the imposter syndrome has got to go, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't give into that. um but like I'll give you an example at the beginning of Shadow Card Guardian. So in between books 1 and 2, I skip a couple of years,
Okay.
mostly for continuity reasons with John's story. Like I don't want to interfere with what he's got going on in his main series.
Yeah.
um and so at first, when I first posted the chapter 1 of book 2, I said that it took place 2 years after, or 2 years prior, or 2 years after the last one, right?
Yep.
And then as I was going on, I realized that that wasn't quite enough time, that I needed it to
Mm.
be 3 years. So I just posted a note on my subscription. Now this is not on Royal Road, right? Like
Yep.
this is on just behind my paywall on my website. I posted a note to my subscribers and I was like, hey, you guys are getting the rawest of the raw, that. And
Yep.
so I made the editorial decision that I'm going to change it to is actually 3 years in between. And I've changed the manuscript, but that I'm copying from, but I'm not going to go back and change the website right now because
Gotcha. Yep.
it's just extra effort. So I just let them know that, like, hey, this is what it is right now. And
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see. But I mean, nobody's complained or anything. It's been cool. And it's
Yeah.
interesting too, because one of the things that I wasn't really prepared for that they do on Royal Road is that, like, the readers can comment right away, and they can give editing suggestions. Like there's a mechanism in the software
Oh.
of the site for them to give editing suggestions. And girl, let me tell you, like, my manuscript, I paid for a professional proofread and I got one and I was happy with what I got. And my readers on Road still find stuff, like, still, so
Well, that's
like
come in handy when you
they
publish it.
are eagle-eyed, right? And I think that a lot of, yeah, exactly, right? Like I'm going to go through my manuscript one more time, bouncing it against what they found just
Yeah.
to make sure. But
Free edit.
right. Yeah. Well, that's it. Like that's what I'm saying, is that a lot of authors, it's like they use Railroad as like a crowdsourced editing platform, kind of,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. I mean, I don't think it would work for something like I don't think it would work for like a developmental edit, but like they'll do, you know, they catch typos, like they catch, when I use the wrong word for stuff all the time. So line edits and copy edits for sure. So.
I mean, and I would imagine you're getting like general vibe check, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
if you
Yeah.
find people are like, I don't know what's going on in chapter 5, but I'm
Right.
checking out. Then it's like, oh,
Yes.
okay, shoot, what
Yeah.
what did happen?
And they are happy to tell you about it. tell you. Like
Jeez.
anything you do that they don't like, they're like, I don't like that. And you're like, oh, all right, well, okay, vaya con Dios, you know, like.
Which, like, some degree, like, any book, right? Like, even books you
Yeah,
love, there are parts where you're like, what is happening?" Like, what
yeah,
is especially the characters, right? Like, you wanna be a little frustrated with them.
yeah,
But, yeah, it's good to get that feedback.
yeah, yeah. It's been a fun journey. It's been a fun experience. So, um, but yeah. So that's like I said, that's what I've been focusing on is well that and right because heaven forbid that I shouldn't fucking overload myself, but so I've got all of that going on, and then in May I've got my fantasy release with
Ooh.
Bane, my big
Yep.
you know Mage Light, my fantasy book, my fantasy adventure book. And so one of the things that we spent a lot of time at Bosco and talking about was Melissa, my friend, who is one of my many roommates. She has a fantasy adventure coming out in June. Mage Light's coming out in May. My best friend Marisa, another one of my many roommates, she has a fantasy novel coming out in September from Bane. So like
Oh,
we were like hardcore strategizing, like what can we do,
yeah.
this spring and this summer to like really call attention to all this great fantasy that's coming out to promote each other. So we have a lot of plans.
That's
Some of which I
awesome.
will definitely talk to you about offline, because we're talking about like kind of here in New England going and almost doing like a mini book tour, right? Reaching out to
Oh.
booksellers and
Yep.
librarians and trying to just like make connections, be like, hey, we have awesome books and we would love to facilitate you sharing them with people. So
Yeah.
uh,
The there's, like, a little bookstore in oh, I don't know the town name, which is funny because I know exactly where it is, and I could literally drive you there right now,
uh-huh.
but it's off Lake Winnipesaukee that I absolutely love
Oh, that would be
that I
fun.
will have
That'd
to
be
send
fun
you
to
the
take a
name
trip up
of.
there.
Because
Yeah.
it's like they have such a great collection. It's like such like old school New England
Hmm.
feel, like, the floor's
Hmm.
creak and everything's wood and it's on the water
Yeah.
and yeah,
I love
I
it. Yeah, that
I'm
sounds
gonna write
great.
it down.
Please send me the name.
I don't know
Please send
why
me
I
the
can't
name.
think of what town that is. It's
I mean, you will as soon as you're not on camera, I'm sure.
I could literally pull up Google Maps and, like, find it on the map for you, and I don't even know the town. Just because I know where it is in relation to the
Yeah.
lake.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that. I that's, like, such a great idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, we'll talk more specific plans when we're not,
Yeah,
on the internet.
yeah.
so um so we've only got about a little over about like 12 or so minutes left. But last time we kind of set some goals. I did not meet mine, not even close. I think I wanted to be done with book two
Mm,
by this point, and I am probably like a, a fifth to a quarter of the way into it. And and so there's that. How about you?
I
You said
did.
you hadn't gotten any writing done?
I have gotten very little, but I did this. So I have all the scenes written for act 1
Mm-hmm.
in my book story.
Well,
I
that's awesome.
did spend too many days waffling of being like, "Do I work on the book or do I work on Aztec?" And, like, I would make a
Mm-hmm.
decision, and then the next day I would be like, I think that's the wrong decision. Let me, like, do this all." I gotta stop that. I gotta stop, like, going back and
Well,
forth. I don't know why because it's not me, like, working on it and then changing
mm-hmm.
my mind. It's literally just me, like, making a list of, like, which one do I work on and spending, like, 2 hours doing that, and then the next day
Yeah.
being like, "No, let's make a new list," and I'm like, "What? How is there even things to write down still?" I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that can be hard. I struggle too with, do I work on the sequel to Mage Light or do I work on Shadowcourt Guardian 2,
Mm,
and there are like pressing reasons to work on both. And so sometimes it's just like a mood thing, right? Like,
yeah.
what am I in the mood for? But yeah, I don't know. like the idea is they're both money makers. So, normally I would say prioritize the thing that's going to make the most money. But, you know, in order to
Yeah.
make any money from either of them, I need to I need to
Right?
write
You need to
this.
finish it. I
Yeah.
know.
So,
Yes.
I think my goal for this next month. So, what day is it? It's the 19th. So
It is the 19th
by March 19th, I would like to be
in
at
New
least to the.
Orleans, having a
Oh, we will be
beignet.
in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we will be. So, we should maybe do like a vlog or something, you
Yeah,
know?
we absolutely should. I'm on
That would
board.
be fun. That would be fun. So by the time we go to New Orleans, I want to have I'd like to be at least through the halfway point of Shadow Card Guardian 2.
I'm writing down so
Oh,
I
thank
can.
you.
You're gonna get off the
You can
plane,
hold
and
me
I'm
to the
gonna be
fire.
like, "What point are you at in Shadow Card Guardian 2?"
Have you reached so the halfway point would be probably around somewhere around chapter 20, between chapter 22 and 25ish, right? Because the first book was 48 chapters. Each chapter is somewhere between 1700 and 2200 words long. So somewhere in the mid 20s for the chapters, early to
That
mid
is
20s.
like my favorite chapter length. I'm finding
Mm-hmm.
that like 2000, right around there, plus or minus like 100, is like this is the good
Yeah.
chapter length.
It certainly works. I mean, it certainly works well for Royal Road, right? Like
Mm.
that seems to be a digestible length that the readers really like. So I'd like to have that done. I would also like to. This is an additional goal. I want to have my Shadow Card Guardian pre-order page on Amazon set
Oh,
up and
nice.
squared away,
Yep.
because, like I said, on the 19th of March, Demon Card Enforcer 3 is coming out, and if it's linked to my book, that's better for me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's John's book. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Pre-order up.
yeah.
Do you
Um,
have any other like conferences or trips or anything between now and then?
no,
No. Okay.
just that.
Yeah.
So,
I like it.
how about you?
I would like
I'll write down for you.
so I'm just starting the mid like into act 2 of the book, and this
Uh-huh.
is an edit, but I will say that it's an edit of basically like a zero draft kind of, like the first draft is like 20,000 words. So this is going to
Mm-hmm.
be a big I'm expecting it to more than double at the end of
Mm-hmm.
this. So I will say to I want to be at the midpoint.
Okay.
Written. Not necessarily good, but written. I feel like I'm still at the point where I'm like, I need to get all of the plot onto the page. And then it can kind of be like tweaked and improved and making sure the character
Yeah.
pieces are there. But it's like from the first draft to now, like so much of like just the plot pieces are missing. I also made a key decision of like, so one thing that happens is like this is a portal fantasy and there is three friends, one of them is missing and she's actually like trapped in this book. And so they
Mm-hmm.
in the current like the first draft, the main character goes into the book to save her, like to try to find her friend. At the midpoint, she comes out temporarily, and then like when she goes back in, it's like her and her other friend. But like I found that I was like thinking about it and I'm like, her being able to come out kind of removes like I want there to be a feeling of like trapped. And if she
Mm-hmm.
leaves in the midpoint, then that like that feeling is kind of not valid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, I need them both to go in at the beginning so that they can be stuck there for the duration. And so I've got
Mm-hmm.
to do some big rewrites in the first half, especially because I need to add a whole new character that doesn't exist in
Mm-hmm.
most of these scenes to be like, no, she needs to
Right.
be there. And she can't just be standing
Yeah.
in the corner. So like it's like I need you to interact with
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So midpoint of book written, and
Mm.
revisions to Act 1. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say like I've been sending act 1 chapter by chapter to my critique partner, so I
Uh-huh.
definitely wanna do, like, reviewing her suggestions,
Mm-hmm.
doing some edits and stuff based on how she feels. I did print it too, and I started to, like, read it with, like, a red pen, and I've, like, made marks, but I haven't actually, like, made any updates to the manuscript either. Like, all of
Yeah.
that is just written in red pen, so I need to get that into the computer, which for some
Right.
reason is, like, the worst to me, like, the worst of, like, looking at the piece of paper and being like, "Oh, okay, there's that sentence, I'm gonna edit that sentence." I'm
Yeah.
like, "This is so painful."
Yeah. Yeah. I, I, I would, I don't know, man. So my publisher for Mage Light, when I sent her the initial draft, she said she loved it. She printed it out, marked it up old school because she's kind of old school that way, Tony Weiskopf, and she sent me back the draft in a box with her pen and ink
Mm,
editing marks on it, and then
yeah,
we had like a 4 hour developmental edit call where we went page by page through the thing, and it was amazing, right? Like
yeah.
the like genius of this woman that she imparted to me with this manuscript. I mean, she fixed the entire thing with one sentence. She was like, she asked me one question, I was like, oh shit, you're absolutely right, like, and it just changed everything. Like I had to
Yeah.
rewrite 30% of the manuscript for that, but it's so much better of a book right now. But that whole like printing it out and making the edits after that was like I had to like sit down and figure out a whole process for myself where I had to like list the edits in Notion and make a
Oh gosh,
checklist
yep.
and then go back and like, yeah, so it was a whole thing.
It's like it's crazy because on one hand, like, actually, like, reading it and marking it is
Hmm.
great. Like, it's
Yeah.
so I'm, like, so yellow right now. It's like I don't know, it's, like, so like, reading it on paper is so different than reading it on the computer,
Hmm.
but making the edits is, like, the worst thing ever.
Hmm.
It's like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god." I'm like, Do I really need to edit that?" And it's like, Yes, you do."
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Oh man. All right. Well, girl, we've been talking for an hour. This
I
has been
know.
fun. Yeah.
I
So,
know.
um, I kind of almost forgot for a little while there that we were recording. So, audience, I hope you don't mind,
We didn't talk to you at all.
hanging out while Cassie and I chatted. But I don't know. I feel like this is, if you're interested in a writer's life, this is it, man. This is the fun
Yeah,
shit we talk to each other about and how we encourage each other and um, motivate each other and stuff. So
yeah.
consider it a window
Lots of
into our
helpful
lives.
stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
will say, like, just you saying, like, "Oh, I had to rewrite 30% of it." I'm like, "That is amazing to hear." Like, if you were probably like, it wasn't." But no, it it is. And so hopefully
Well,
somebody else thinks so too.
yeah, no, I mean, and maybe one day the day will come when I will write a manuscript and Tony Weiskopf in all her wisdom and experience will read it and be like, it's perfect. Send it to press. But today is not that day.
That'd be
And
quite
it's
the
not going to
day.
be tomorrow either.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So I rewrote 30% of it, Well,
Okay.
what are you going to do?
Like you said,
It's a
it's
better
even
book.
better.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most important
Yeah. Yeah.
part.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will, yeah, I guess we'll try to do this again. I think instead of like just the catch up next month, we'll just do our little vlog situation from
Yeah.
PartyCon and Writer MBA. I think that'd be fun.
We will be
Um,
in the same place.
I know. I'm so excited. It'll be
I
fun.
know. Me too. I can't
Um,
wait.
I can't wait either, man. I can't wait. But Cassie, where if people want to know more about you or connect with you on social media, where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram is definitely the best place. That's where I spend most of my time and I check all my messages at writing Cassie Ray. I'm also in Discord, but I don't know like how you find people on Discord outside of. workspace is the Slack. I don't know what Discord calls them.
Just
Servers?
the servers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I'm on there if you can find people. But yeah, definitely Instagram, I would say.
Okay. Are you on my Discord? Have you? You are, aren't you?
No, we were just talking. Oh no, you have a server too?
Yeah, I have a server.
No, I'm not. You have to send it to me because I will
I'll send
totally
you an
join.
invite. Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. We
Yeah,
a lot of writers hang out there. We do like writing sprints and stuff there. So
love it.
yeah,
I
it's fun.
love writing sprints with other people. It's so
Yeah,
helpful for me.
makes a huge difference. Makes a
Yes.
huge difference. Um, so if you're here on, well, assuming this is posted on my channel, if it's not, then
Yes. No,
disregard.
yours.
I don't even know. I'm not even sure which one we're doing here. But if you're here on my channel, you probably know all this already. But all my links, my website, and everything will be in the description as well. I'll get Cassie's Instagram and throw that down there. So, and yeah, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, guys, and for this chatty little writer life update. We will. Let's see. This will probably go up. This will probably go up. I'll probably put this up next week, so it'll be probably around the 24th-ish that this goes up. So,
Sounds
so
good.
this will be the end of February. So I hope you guys have a good March. And yeah, I don't know. I'm running out of things to say. Any last
Oh, it's good. It's good. I like it.
messages? All right, cool. Well, once again, for Cassie Emerson, I'm Casey Zell, and this is my writer life. Thanks for being here. Now I hit end recording. Thanks.